Bob and Jerome over there. Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. And challenge accepted. You're going down.
But you got to go one at a time or you'll miss this match coming up.
Yeah. Now, we are in round 3 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championships 2014, and what we are actually doing this round is we are moving to the Dragon Duel to have a look at some of our under 14s, I do believe.
Under 13.
Under 13, yeah. Okay. Our under 13 players, and this round we will have Edison Pan versus Ivan Alvarez. Now, Edison is playing Giga with a variation on hat, basically, so it's hands Gear, and also with a splash of Fossil Diner.
Fossil Diner, very smart if you're thinking that you're coming into a tournament filled with Infernity.
Definitely. And Ivan is coming with Medolce.
That is... See, I thought a lot of people would gravitate towards it because if you're playing Medolce before this event and playing Medolce at this event, it's exactly the same either way.
Yeah.
There are no impact on you from this Forbidden and Limited list, and in fact, some of the cards that could mess you up, like Artifact Morale Talk, are less present. So I think it's a good choice.
There's also the rules changes, which happened recently, meaning that both players can have a field spell card on the side of the field, which helps Medolce so much.
Especially when you're playing against spellbooks, which would normally be able to banish all of your stuff. The fact that they can't also just get rid of your Medolce Chateau by slamming down Grand Spellbook Tower, that's pretty big.
Now, I'm looking at it, and it also has hands in it as well. Unfortunately, there's no other... Something I said at Europeans was that I wanted somebody to make hands artifacts something else, and Medolce was one. Artifacts is not present, but he has a main deck effect veiler, so I'm going to call this deck Meh. Meh.
Muster a little more enthusiasm about Meh. It's a little bit, it's one short of mech. You got anything with Max C? It's
Max
mech.
C. It's mech.
There you go.
There we go.
We've
it's
done
mech.
it.
It's
Medolce
Max C effect veiler. Oh dear. Yeah, but I'm happy to see them.
Yep. This is probably going to be a good one.
Definitely, definitely.
A key point in this match is going to be, I think, Black Horn of Heaven. You see it in every Girgia deck, and whether or not the Medolce player can sneak their Queen Tiramisu past Black Horn of Heaven could go a long way to deciding who's going to win this one.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, it's not something that I've actually ever personally watched, Girgia versus Medolce. I mean, how do they usually fare?
You know, it's kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
It depends a lot on the openings, but if you can, as a Medolce player, if you open up with the Angeli, you're in a good position anyways.
Of course.
You get your field spell out, you'll have a nice defensive wall. And in that way, Girgia and Medolce are kind of similar, but I would say Medolce is the more explosive deck, and Girgia is the more, like, passive is its nature. It's more defensive-minded, but it can switch to offense. Medolce is offense-oriented, but can switch to defense.
Yeah. Definitely.
And in general, when I see those two particular strategies smash into each other, normally the defensive one wins, because the trap cards that you can use are so strong that they just negate summons for free, summons that often took multiple monsters to make, like an Xyz summon, Synchron summon, etc. So when those defensive cards resolve successfully, it's a lot more devastating.
Yeah, and also these two players are on table 1 as well, so they're both going
currently
XL.
undefeated.
So yeah,
in the Dragon Duel.
Definitely see Medolce up there.
It's going to be a good one.
So nice, so nice.
So yeah, a good one.
Say Edison is from France and Ivan is from the Dominican Republic. Yeah. I think we have some introductions.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah. If we can go over to the players' introduction.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Edison et je viens de France.
Ivan Alvarez de República Dominicana.
All right.
Yeah.
We got them. They look pumped.
They do look pumped.
They don't look like they're at the table yet, though.
No, they're not at the table yet. Well, no, they are not at the table yet and won't be for a little while yet. So you've got us.
Yep. C'est la vie.
Which is topical because of the French player.
Got to get a little foreign. So one of my experiments for yesterday was to see how long I could actually just survive on the streets of Italy without speaking a word of Italian.
Yeah.
Actually worked surprisingly well. Ordering food, kind of difficult.
Yeah.
And understanding, the entire customs, do you tip or not in Europe, etc. I have no idea.
I don't know.
I didn't even know how you're supposed to order. So I went into this shop. They've got a cash register and everything up there. And I stumble out my order.
Yeah.
And then they tell me to go sit down over here. Now, I thought I was going to be clever, and I watched somebody else order stuff first. You know, they got their drinks and whatever, and they went up and they paid up front. So when they told me, yeah, go sit down, you know, we'll bring it to you, or whatever they were saying. I'm assuming that's what they were saying, is there's a lot of pointing and go over here-ish motions. But, yeah, it threw me for a loop.
There's a lot of gestures.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of gestures, a lot of stuff that I did not understand. Great language, though, Italian.
Yeah.
It sounds really good. I just can't parse it at all.
It feels very lyrical. Yeah.
Actually, speaking of, in Duelist Alliance, we have those new Burning Abyss monsters, right?
Yeah.
We're in Italy for this. So we have monsters based on the Inferno, part of the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri.
We do have Dante's Inferno.
And it's kind of amazing, the structure of that poem, like the rhyme scheme of it, across 14,000 lines, or however it was, split across into 3 books, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, I've had to write a poem once since high school. I'm not going to say how many years that is, but once since high school, I have had to write a poem. It's actually 4 work, and it took me a day to do, I think, 7 lines. Can you imagine how long it would take to write 14,000 lines with a much more complicated rhyming scheme than whatever I could come up with?
Well, my favorite quote about poetry itself is, the job of the poet is to look at a rhyme dictionary and go, this one, I guess.
I don't really know that Alighieri had access to a dictionary at that particular point in time. Actually, that's a good question. I'm probably going to look that up later. Like, when did dictionaries really begin?
Dictionaries.
Dictionaries
in particular?
Yes.
During the Edwardian period?
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
The first one was written during... There's an English comedy by Rowan Atkinson that there's a situation in which he accidentally destroys the first dictionary. So look that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, definitely.
Always like to learn. That's
Yeah.
one of the important things. Like, you can learn a lot from looking at your cards. There's a lot of mythology buried in there.
There is.
Like the Bujin monsters, for example. Each of the Bujin Xyz monsters is based on an actual mythological figure, like a god or goddess.
Yeah.
And a lot of times their effect is based on that particular god. So Susanoo is a god of storms, and his ability is to storm across the battlefield and take out everything that your opponent has. It can attack everything on the field. Kagusuchi, when he was born, his incredible fire burned his mother, killing her. And Susanoo, who's his father, was so outraged by it that he beheaded him. And this is also represented in the card, because when you summon Bujinte Kagusuchi, you head your deck, you take off the top 5 cards of it as well. So there's a whole lot of stuff that you can find in your cards that you would just never think of.
No.
But it's actually related to the effects. We're not just putting pictures on there with names and calling them things. There's research and mythology and that sort of thing all mixed together in it.
There is a lot in there, yeah. Definitely.
We had science. Last time around WCQ, we talked about the Traptrix monsters and the different plants and insects
I noticed that.
that they're based on.
Yeah.
That was neat. Mecha Phantom Beasts are all based on actual airplanes.
Yeah. Like
or
Dracosac.
spacecrafts.
Was a
Yeah,
Cossack
Dracosac
and-
was the
yeah.
Cossack. It carries the Booran space shuttle, which is Warbleran, the tuner monster. You could see them together. They are on the card. It's carrying Warbleran, which is exactly how that particular aircraft operated. Even O-Lion, the new one, is based on an actual space module. So there's a lot of stuff to look for. Just take a look at your cards sometime and get on the internet and see what you can find.
Check it out.
A lot of things to learn.
Yeah, so
Back to business, though.
back to business.
It
yes.
looks like our players are going to be arriving soon.
very soon. So,
The trick with hand matchups is sometimes these can go a little bit longer, because once you find out that your opponent is playing against hands, every time they set a monster, they're going to be like, oh, well, now I have to play defensively too, because I can't run into Fire Hand or Ice Hand here.
yeah.
Now, sometimes you get the opposite. If you have a monster you don't really care about, like if you normal summon Traptrix Myrmidon on the first turn and got something, then you might attack your opponent's face-down monster, assuming, well, it could be an Ice Hand. I could get away scot-free from this and then set all my traps.
It's
Sometimes
a
it
difficult
works,
choice.
sometimes it doesn't. It's a gamble, and we'll see if any player is willing to take it in the World Championship.
It depends. I mean, if you have a way of flipping those face-down cards face up,
Yep,
then you know what you're going up against.
that would help.
But knowing that you're against Gear Gaia,
Yep.
you don't want to do that.
No. What you do want to do is grab any shield crushes or Nobleman of Crossouts that you have in your side deck and throw them into your main deck and just use them on everything. Because it could be a hand, it could be a Geargi armor, it doesn't matter. You want it gone.
Yeah.
That said, Ivan Alvarez does not have any such cards in his side deck.
Neither does Edison.
And I think I know why. I think that Geargia is, in the player's perspective, something of a dark horse pick. They see that Geargia gear is limited, and they think that because you lost that powerful turn 1 play, that it's not as worth playing.
Yeah.
They just discard it without actually doing the testing to see that it's still good. And since they don't regard it as a threat, they did not side deck for it.
Now, interestingly, 1 Day of Peace is in the side deck here, the Geargia.
That, I know why that is. That is so that you can put a card into the Infernity player's hand during your turn.
Yes, that is great.
And it gets you another card yourself to work with. That's actually pretty clever.
That's very clever. I like that.
Speaking of anti-Infernity, we got the main decked Fossil Dyna Pachycephalo.
Yeah.
And another one as well. Now that's the question, is how much do you really want to main deck against Infernity? When I was building a deck, back at the office to bring to the event, like, I tried to think, what would I do if I were a player? And I would assume that not everybody's going to play Infernity because it makes your brain burn.
Yes.
So I only put 1 Max C in my main deck, and I stuck all the rest of the hate in my side deck.
Definitely.
Looks like our players have arrived.
They're just setting up now.
We'll be ready to go shortly. Medolce Palooza. You are a Medolce fan, right? What are your
Yes.
thoughts on Medolce Palooza?
I love Medolce Palooza.
You love it? Did you
Yeah.
play just one or more?
Just the one.
Just the one?
You don't need any more.
You can search it out.
Yeah.
Right.
It's completely, totally...
I've never been a super fan of Medolce Palooza because I
Really?
don't want all those monsters in my hand to begin with. But if they're all going to go back there anyways off of Chateau, I might as well randomly win the game with them,
There.
I guess. I could see myself playing one. I'm just not a super fan of the card. I like the art, though.
Yes.
The giant cake is pretty great.
That's one of the reasons why I like Medolce, is because they're cute and they're made of cake, which is amazing.
Well, if you have a pudding princess, it doesn't really work out very well if you run into the Bill Cosby monster.
Oh.
We never made that one, though. Never
No.
happened.
No, there is no Bill Cosby monster.
Pudding Sis is safe. Also not in this deck. So, let's get back and reintroduce our players for this round.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Edison et je viens de France.
Iván Alvarez de República Dominicana.
All right, 2 Dragon Duelists, both 2-0 after 2 rounds.
Both very ready for this.
Very ready.
Not literally ready. They
They'll
are
be
still
there
getting everything
in a minute
together.
or so.
But ready for the match to play against each other. Not literally ready to start playing. Here we go.
All right, so when you're looking for your opening hand in a Medolce deck, how many monsters would you want in it, ideally?
You want Hoot Cake.
Do you want Hoot Cake in your starting hand, or do you want Hoot Cake off of Angeli?
I don't really know. To be honest with you, I've not really played Medolce since Angeli came out.
Really?
No.
Interesting. So I've played quite a bit of it with Angeli.
Yeah.
And what I'm finding is I want to draw one monster, Angeli.
Yeah.
That's the only one. I don't want to draw another monster for the rest of the game. So the interesting conundrum when you're building the deck is how many of each of the other support cards do you play? Because if you have Angeli, that's great. But there are also massive plays that you can pull off if you have Medolce Bufil, the cat, along with Medolce Angeli.
Yeah.
But with any other card in your deck, Bufil's not as good. I mean, it's kind of okay with Hoot Cake because he's also level 3, and you can Exceed Summon, a rank 3 monster. But other than that, I don't really want to pick up any of those cards. I definitely don't want Messenger Lotto in my hand. He has to be special summoned.
Well, it depends whether you got a Move Fuel and Messenger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But ideally, I'd say 1.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same for a lot of these trap-heavy decks. And it looks like our duelists are just about actual ready.
Yeah. Although, is a Trap Stun interesting in such a trap-heavy deck?
For Medolce, because it's such a combo deck where you have to force through a big sequence and summons off of Hoot Cake and Angeli and all of that, Trap Stun is just used to turn off your opponent's traps.
Yeah.
You're never going to play it on your turn. You're going to play it at the start of your own turn, and then just not care about your opponent's face-down cards for the rest of the game. And normally you can get away with that because there's only one Book of Moon available, and people aren't really playing Mind Control, or not Mind Control, Enemy Controller.
Yeah.
Anything that can switch your cards to defense.
Here we go. Accelerator, 3 armors? Wow. That is 3 Giga armors in the opening hand.
Triple armors, that's way too many monsters. You don't want to see that many. And whereas Edison Pan is going first, and so he's only able to muster 1 monster and a face-down spell or trap.
And there's the Ice Hand, there's the Angeli.
Ice Hand Angeli, not bad. If you're going to get multiple monsters in a Medolce deck, it's better to get non-Medolce monsters. So if you're playing Ice Hand, Fire Hand, Effect Failure, Max C, those kinds of cards, those are fine to see.
And that's a large opening field to be against.
4 spell and traps versus the flipped Girgi armor. Fiendish Chain locks down Girgi armor number 1. And Girgi armor number 2 is set right next to it. Medolce Angeli is next on Ivan Alvarez's side of the field. This could be the start of a very large sequence of combos.
He's just thinking about it.
So the monster summoned by Medolce Angeli cannot be destroyed by battle while it's on the field, but card effects still work.
Okay, he's bringing a Hoot Cake to the field.
Hoot Cake is on the field, activates its effect, banishing the Angeli to special summon Messengelato.
This. And I do believe that he's going for a Shatter.
If you have nothing in your graveyard and you have no other Medolce monsters in your hand, you generally get Ticket first.
Yeah.
So at least you can continuously field attackers. And Ticket, if I remember correctly, that's the one that lets you search your deck every time one is sent back to your deck.
Yeah.
So it represents more chances to pull off your combo every time one of your monsters is destroyed. Messengelato is in attack position and takes down that Girgi armor, which will free up a slot for the Fiendish Chain. Or that used to be afflicted by the Fiendish Chain. Which has not yet been noticed.
Field.
As Girgi armor was destroyed, so Fiendish Chain should go with it. But speaking of Girgi armor, it is flipped up yet again. This time it picks up Girgi Accelerator.
Also Vana Pachycephalo.
Pachycephalo could be very useful right about now to stop any potential combos from Ivan Alvarez in the next turn. Problem is, its attack points are so weak. It's only 1,200, and Alvarez already has a monster on the field that far exceeds that. In fact, he's got 2. Hoot Cake has 1,500, is it?
He is sent from the field to where he activates
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Perfect. Okay.
Girgi armor flips back down, and another face-down monster joins it, along with a spell or trap.
And it's the Fossil Dine.
Fossil Dine flipping up will destroy all the special summon monsters, so that is also a totally valid way to use it.
Okay, Angeli summoned, and I believe he changed Book of Moon.
Yep, Book of Moon on Angeli sets it face down, so that we're not going to see Medolce Queen Tiramisu. Shuffling both of those monsters back to the deck would be absolutely devastating at this point. But he would still need to get more Medolces into the graveyard, and that's the other thing that's accomplished by flipping down Angeli. You're not just stopping the special summons, you are keeping a Medolce monster out of the graveyard.
And his deck passes Cephalo.
Pachycephalo, when flipped face up, destroys all special summon monsters on the field. And that triggers the effects of both Medolce monsters to return to the deck.
Now he is going to get a couple of tickets off there, isn't he?
He gets the effect of Medolce ticket once per turn, so he gets to search one monster.
Shuffle on the end. Okay.
And he's gone for another Angeli.
So we've seen all three Angelis already. Alvarez is really digging through his deck and putting together the combo pieces with alarming speed. And Edison Pan takes a look at Medolce ticket, hardly believing that, yes, it really can be that good of a card.
Yeah. Either that, or he's just looking to see how many times a turn he's able to do it, because he has that set.
Yep, luckily it's only once.
Well, it really depends whether Ivan has anything else left to do this turn.
He's already battled, he's already normal summoned. I'd say that's generally the end of the turn for a Medolce player.
Now, if Edison does attack there, he's got a chance of hitting the ice hand.
And that's the thing. I think Edison's just going to try to build up a bunch of cards right now. I can see him going and grabbing as many Geargy accelerators as he can.
Cards in the hand.
Alvarez has Magdalene and Angeli in his hand. Plenty of search power.
Yeah.
But after you use that last Angeli, what do you really have left to search for? I guess it's the Mewfuel.
Yeah.
But you'd have to play it the other way around in that case. You play Magdalene first to get Mewfuel, and then unleash the Mew-Angeli combo next turn.
Yeah.
Attacks the face down Angeli, puts it back into the deck, and all of a sudden there's another target, well, another choice to make with the Magdalene.
Setting up the Mewfuel combo.
And as a result, Medolce ticket triggers again, and Alvarez has assembled the Mew-Angeli combo. What he doesn't know about is Torrential Tribute. And since it's the only spell and trap card on the field, after that goes off and the ice hand's destroyed, there's nothing to destroy. And so the string of hands will not continue. Or at least it wouldn't have, but he added another face-down spell or trap. Refill summon, then Angeli. And Torrential Tribute is activated. Everything is destroyed. And when all is said and done, Ice Hand destroys Breakthrough Skill.
Ice hand effect or ticket. I chain aside one.
On what?
What? Yes.
You activate this for?
No. I destroyed that with ice hand.
Ah, okay.
So chain one chain?
Yeah.
Aside one. Chain two.
After a brief bit of confusion on which order
Chain one.
the chain links were placed, we're back underway. Angeli is added to Alvarez's hand. Fire Hand comes to the field. And Geargi Accelerator adds 1 Geargi armor back to Edison Pan's hand. It appears Alvarez has drawn that 1 Medolce Palooza.
Yep. See how it helps him. Look at that cake.
It's an impressive cake.
It is an impressive cake.
But what's more impressive is the ability to summon any number of monsters possible from your hand. Most decks need a specialized card like this to do it, though once pendulum monsters become more widespread, other decks will gain access to that ability as well,
Yeah.
without the shuffling them back into your deck part. This is just... The Geargia player is just not getting the trap cards he needs to support all those monsters. You can only normal summon 1 of them per turn, and that's why many duelists try to cut down the number of monsters they play as much as possible.
Yeah. Now, Edison Pan does have some combos, but whether he's able to get them off?
It'll depend on how much pressure Alvarez puts on him here. I feel like if you have Geargia in this situation, you have to go at them as hard as you possibly can.
Yeah. He's played the Magellan.
He's gone for Magellan. And he's going to set up for the Mew Angeli combo again. In the meantime, though, looked like he was considering an Xyz summon for a moment.
And he would lose the advantage of his fire hand.
Yep. I don't know if you give up your fire hand in this situation, but you do know that that's more than likely a Geargi armor since you saw one get taken back to the hand.
Yeah.
And
Which it is
just
actually.
keeping them off of their Geargi armor when they're not drawing any traps can oftentimes be so advantageous to you that it's worth it. Because the fire hand's not going to do a whole lot against face-down monsters that never attack. Well, Alvarez leaves it as is. And a pair of set cards joins it. 1 monster, 1 spell or trap. And we see that that was Bottomless Trap Hole, which is exactly what you need if you need to break up a combo play.
There's Mewfuel.
Mew's back again.
This
With
time
Hootcake.
Hootcake.
Hootcake in defense.
And Bottomless Trap Hole sinks it.
Hootcake is banished. Can't go back to the deck because it didn't go to the graveyard. And next, Medolce Chateau is activated.
And he passes.
There are no Medolce monsters to shuffle back into the deck. So it's still just a 500 attack and defense boost.
Cards in hand?
Ivan has an impressive field.
Yes, Alvarez is just looking for any reason he can get to use some of those trap cards. Pot of Duality brings, it's like Forbidden Lance to the
Yeah.
hand. Smart move when you're facing down that many trap cards. With Forbidden Lance, you can sacrifice some attack points to become immune to spells and traps for 1 monster for the rest of the turn. And the real value there is chaining it to whatever the trap is, so that when that trap resolves, the monster who's going after is unaffected.
Perfect.
Geargi Armor, face up. And Edison Pan is considering Geargiano Mark II. And goes for it.
Georgia level 4 Georgia or
What? Level 4 or lower.
level 4 level?
Question is, what can
That's in French.
Georgiano Mark II target?
You need in English.
No, that is a 9.
You want the translation or no?
No, just 4 or lower.
It's okay? Huh.
Cards in hand.
And with that search, Edison's pen is up to 5 cards in hand. And this time he's got some special summoning power. That is the way to get around having all of those monsters. And he special summons Geargi Accelerator. Next up is an Xyz summon for Abyss Dweller. That's great against the hands and the Medolces.
Yes.
Its ability allows you to detach a material and prevents effects that monster effects that activate in the graveyard from activating at all
Yeah.
for the rest of the turn. And it's a quick effect too. You can use it on your opponent's turn. Normal summon is next. We've got the Georgiano.
Perfect.
And the effect is activated, targeting a Geargi armor.
Cards in the hand.
And Torrential Tribute is the play from Alvarez.
I felt it would be, especially because he knew that the ice hand was no longer there. Chances are he can just play a lance.
This Dweller's effect is chained, so these Medolces will go to the graveyard, assuming everything resolves as is. And it is. And Ice Hand goes to the graveyard, unable to activate because destruction was not the last thing to occur. Rather, unable to activate because there's nothing there.
Yep.
Effect.
Getting my chain links mixed up today. Boot Cake comes down on Alvarez's side of the field and banishes Fire Hand to special summon a Messenger Lotto. And that'll grab a second copy of the Medolce Chateau.
Now it's interesting, we've been playing for quite a while and their life point damage is very minimal.
Whole lot of defense in this one, which
Definitely.
normally you'd think would favor the Geargia player. But all of his defense is in the form of monsters. There aren't any traps to actually take Alvarez's cards out of commission.
To say he's got 14 cards that are trap cards in his deck, it's interesting that he's not really seen any of them.
He's only got one so far, I think, is that Bottomless and Torrential. Now we got a little bit of damage, though. The boosted Messenger Lotto is up to 2100.
Chain hand.
And that'll finishing things up in 3 turns if allowed to go unchecked. Finally, purple card, pink card, whichever you like, on the side of Edison Pan. And it's Black Horn of Heaven, which could be crucial in mounting a comeback if Alvarez goes for an Xyz summon.
Could take effect.
He does have.
Bootcake's effect is activated, banishing Ice Hand. And this time, Magdalene is summoned. That's 2 level 4 Medolce monsters, which could make the queen.
No, I'm going.
And he goes for it, but she is eliminated by Black Horn of Heaven.
Unfortunately, yes.
No,
Not much you can do about that.
take it easy. Can I do?
What?
One.
And we see Alvarez replace his old copy of Medolce Chateau with a new one so that he can shuffle all his cards back into the deck. Queen goes back to the extra deck.
And check that effect.
And we get Medolce Ticket's effect again.
Really thinking about that, Angeli.
Well, the more times you can resolve it in a single duel, the better.
Oh. I hate it when that happens.
Yep, new sleeves, happens.
Slippy cards, cards all over the floor.
And now he's taking another look back through the deck before deciding on Medolce Neufil.
You had a rank 3.
With that, he makes Levier the Sea Dragon. That brings back a Fire Hand, so he can restart his Destruction and Summoning Engine. Well, that said, I don't think we've seen any battle yet this turn.
Nope.
But we probably won't unless he doesn't think that's a Girgi armor. And that's what he's going to go and look and check for right now in Edison Pan's graveyard. He attacks, and it is Girgi armor. And it goes for another Girgiano Mark II. It's a useful card in this situation because you can go for a rank 3 or 4 play.
Yeah.
So he already has one Girgiano Mark II in the graveyard.
You still need to shuffle your...
What?
You still need to shuffle your deck? No. Did you say end phase? Okay, then you have to shuffle.
He already shuffled.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. Sorry.
No problem.
Just some confusion over whether Ivan had actually shuffled that.
Ah, yeah. Which one?
Looks like Edison Pan just picked up another trap card. Remarkably, those Girgi armors, they're very sturdy. 1900 defense
Yeah.
is pulling through. It's the 1800 attack Levier.
That Solemn Warning is going to stop any sort of comeback play if he can resolve any of his combo.
The good thing about flipping the Girgi armor up, at least, is that it forces Pan to leave it in attack position this turn if he doesn't exceed someone with it right away. So you at least have a chance of getting it out of here by battle.
And there's always compulsory evac twice.
Well, which we'll probably see if an exceed summon happens this turn. Basically, at this point, Alvarez has Edison Pan on his heels, just scrambling for anything he can.
Yeah. Especially because his deck is looking very, very thin.
He's seen plenty of cards, but nearly all of them are monsters. Girgi Accelerator special summon next. And Edison checks his opponent's graveyards for traps. Evil Swarm Exciton Knight is the play here. There's no counting issues this time. There are definitely more cards in Alvarez's hand and field combined than in Pan's. But Alvarez has the effect veiler to shut the knight down.
He was not expecting that.
Yeah, don't really see a lot of effect veiler
No,
in main decks right now.
but I love it when it happens.
It's always a shock.
Like I liked it. Oh, okay. That's fine.
Pan
Pan hasn't normal summoned
rambles
this turn.
through his graveyard again.
He has a normal summon this turn, and he has a Gigiano Mark II.
Yep. Very useful. He could try to wall up with a Zen Mines. And the good thing with Zen Mines is that it can survive his own Exciton Knight effect if it has to.
Yeah.
He doesn't target.
Streets.
The question is, what does Gigiano Mark II target? And you
What
can
does it target?
take a look on the screen right now and see it doesn't target anything.
No.
You decide what to summon when it resolves, which is a huge advantage.
It says target.
So it can look from the hand. So
Yes, it's French, but it's not.
it does the same as the English one.
And he goes with Geargy Accelerator.
Attacking straight into the Dimensional Prison.
Oh, Exciton Knight is gone.
That was definitely not an Exciton play.
And Pan sets another card and is done for the turn. Alvarez comes up with an Angeli.
Pan is just sitting on that Solemn Warning.
He's also got another one banished. I don't think there's any way around having an Angeli effect resolve this turn. You can either warning the Levier or warning the effect of Angeli. But if he does that, then Levier brings back Angeli.
Yeah.
That's the correct order.
And can we get the text of Angeli real fast? I want to see if it says you
Sure
can only
thing.
activate once per turn or only use once per turn.
Is that the correct order? No.
You can only use the effect, so you can get around it if he warnings the Angeli after it's already been used.
Yeah.
It's not like negating a Pot of Duality, where it says you can only activate one per turn. Levier's effect is activated, targeting another Angeli. And Solemn Warning is used, leaving the banished Angeli where she is, and Levier goes to the graveyard.
Alvin still had lots of options, though.
Yep, and it's starting to become, life points are starting to become an issue for Pan as he gets lower and lower. He's got a pair of soul charges in his deck that pretty soon he's not going to be able to get anything significant out of.
Just checking what rank 4s he can make.
Yep, Angeli's activated, and he's taking a look to see what exactly he wants to summon here.
He does only have a Fiendish Chain in hand, so...
It's looking like Magellan. Magellan's the call. And she is boosted up to 1900 attack by Middle-Chase Chateau. That'll get even more damage over the Gigiano Mark II.
Now, that's interesting, because I'm pretty sure that the Forbidden Lance would have stopped all of that. Because not only would it have lost 800, it would not be affected by Chateau anymore.
It's true. I think he's going to try to save that Chateau for an actual comeback play, though. Because the one thing it wasn't able to do was force through the Exciton Knight, because it was negated by effect failure.
Oh, and
there's
there's the Soul Charge. And he's thinking about it, but he only has the 2,000 life points to pay.
Yeah, he's got enough points for 2.
And Gaga Cowboy is in Ivan's deck.
2 could be enough, but he's got to get rid of both monsters in that case.
Looking at it, there's well, on the field, a Fiendish Chain. It's face down now. And a compulsory evacuation device.
Okay.
Normal summons Geargy Arsenal. Does not activate its effect. Instead, Mixie summons.
If I target also,
Just finding out what that is.
I cannot answer you if you ask a question with if.
That looks like Cane Gorgon.
Yeah.
You
Just
have a question on
waiting.
this card.
List update.
I cannot give you advice on this.
There you go. Yep, you were correct.
It's Cane Gorgon, 2450 attack.
Ouch.
Fire Hand, though, I believe it only targets monsters your opponent controls.
You can target one monster.
Yep, one monster they control. So Cane Gorgon isn't helping on that front.
that can be activated on damage.
What did he say?
However, in the case of the Fiendish Chain, he'd use it to redirect that chain to one of Alvarez's own monsters,
Yeah.
which would be pretty useful in this case. It would at least force the attack of Cane Gorgon through, but after that, all bets are off.
Yeah.
What is the
You
question?
still have to deal with the Fire Hand,
You can't ask. You can't ask.
and Cane Gorgon isn't going to do that.
No.
Okay.
The other thing to think about is if you do go ahead and attack the Magellin, you're just going to give Alvarez another card search off of Medolce ticket. He's gotten how many throughout this duel? 5 or 6? That
No.
ticket got there early in the game, and it's been there ever since. Spell and trap removal, not really something that Edison Pan has in his deck. Not his main deck, anyways. The Mystical Space Typhoons are side decked.
Okay, and
So
that
there's
is
still game one.
I don't know that he has a main deck method of getting rid of that Medolce ticket, and it's really biting him in this one.
It really is. Now, it's a shame that K. Gorgon is not just once per turn, is it?
I don't believe it is.
Which means that even though he does have the compulsory evacuation device and a Fiendish Chain, he can stop both.
Yep. It's especially good against the evacuation device, because that would deal with the hand.
Yeah.
He could at least put it back in his hand, too many hands, and get a bit of a reprieve from it. I mean, Alvarez can just summon it back next turn. But it's better than just knowing that all your monsters are going to get blown away and not being able to do anything about it.
That is true.
Alvarez just has so many life points right now, and Edison Pan is running out of cards at a rapid rate.
We will guide you.
And this is really his last shot
Yep.
for this game.
Cannot ask about a specific card. You can ask general ruling questions, but not about that exact.
Right.
And Cane Gorgon attacks into the Fire Hand.
what happened? He can do it too.
King Gordon can be active on the damage thing.
So he is destroyed and he cannot activate his effect. Okay. Destroyed.
No, okay, that is okay.
And this is not an effect that can be used in the damage step. It's not a quick effect that is a monster effect that negates the activation of anything.
No.
And even if it could, it couldn't redirect that Fire Hand anyways.
No, because it wouldn't be an appropriate target.
Yep.
And here comes the Ice Hand.
And with the Ice Hand, with no further plays, that would be enough attack points to end it on Alvarez's next turn.
He did kind of shoot himself in the foot by attacking straight into the fire hand.
Yeah, I think he's got to go with the soul charge now if he's going to stay in at all.
Yeah. And even then, compulsory evacuating device exists. He set the soul charge, and he's passed. Forbidden Lance stops the
Stops
that going down.
damage from the Magellin. It would have been 1900, but instead it's only 600.
Yeah.
Yes, 600, right?
He can now soul charge for 1.
Just under that 2000 mark.
You do this for what?
But has a maxi as well, so
This, like 600 for?
Because Forbidden Lance
Ah, okay. Yes.
The
Which
math
is
is confirmed.
and first the effect of Angeli return it to the deck, and I activate the effect of the team.
And the Angelied Magellin returns to the deck.
and another Magdalene goes to hand because of ticket.
Well, you got to play at least some Mystical Space Typhoons in your main deck.
Really, I mean,
For a while, I was thinking, you know, do I really need them? How many decks actually do this sort of thing? But the first time you play against Medolce and they've got the ticket out, all bets are off.
now something that a friend of mine always says is that you can replace Mystical Space Typhoon with Forbidden Lance.
And we've just seen that this is clearly not true. The overwhelming advantage that was given to Alvarez off of always being able to search his deck every single turn instead of just losing monsters to battle and to Angeli's effect, it's insurmountable. If there was a Mystical Space Typhoon, then maybe Pan could have done something about it, or at least made less searches happen. But it's just nothing's really going right for him ever since he started off with 4 monsters in his opening hand.
Yeah. Now he's soul charging for Gigarawa.
Last best
Maxi.
chance is met with Maxi. We've seen both of the one-offs, both Effect Veiler and Maxi. Pan flips his Geargy Armor face down, adds a spell or trap, and that'll do it for his turn.
Oh,
Now, Alvarez has Mind Control, but he can't play it at the moment. Medolce Magellin adds Cake to the hand.
now as it says, the
Compulsory is used to bounce Geargy Armor.
and yeah,
And all it takes is one attack from Magellin,
and that's it.
and that is it.
We're going to
For a
game 2.
very lengthy
That
first
was
duel.
long. I don't know exactly how long.
It was surprising, though, considering that Edison Pan started with such a monster-heavy hand. It's amazing that he was able to last that long against a very fast combo-oriented deck, especially when Ivan Alvarez opened up with all the cards he needed. And that's kind of a testament to how strong Geargia is.
Yeah.
That even with just all these monsters that you can't play, you were still able to hang in there against a very fast, very deadly Medolce deck.
Yeah. I mean, that was... Yeah, he was in there for nearly an hour.
Well, I think we're definitely going to see the Mystical Space Typhoons now.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You kind of need them.
So, I mean, a lot of this...
And he's also got the Macrocosmos and Dimensional Fissure, which can stop a lot of the shenanigans from occurring.
Yeah.
It'll stop Hootcake basically by depriving it of the fuel it needs to work, and it'll stop the Medolces from returning back to the deck, which would then stop Ticket from triggering, if that got to be the case.
Yeah. There is also a second Fossil Diner.
Second Fossil Dyna. You know, I'm not exactly certain how much that Fossil Dyna helped the first time around.
Didn't really.
The Ticket kind of negated the fact that you managed to blast all those monsters with it. But if you were to play it, it would probably be in the context of summoning it face up
And
so
stopping
that the
special
shenanigans
summons,
don't
yeah.
start. On the other side, it's got more Effect Veilers, more Maxis. I would expect to see the Effect Veiler before the Maxi. In fact, the way he has it set up with one of each in the main deck, his plan is probably to take out whichever one he doesn't need for the matchup and replace it with the second copy of the one he does need from his side deck.
It'd be interesting to see Mind Crush, a lot, especially with the Lock Search.
Yes. It would be especially unpleasant if Edison Pan wound up with a hand like the one he had this last time, and something like Gear Armor was called when he had all three in hand after searching one. That would just be brutal. Black Horn of Heaven, also useful. Dust Tornado, frequently useful as well.
Soul Drain.
Soul Drain is an interesting one. Probably to stop its, what, graveyard activated effects? Graveyard and banished cards?
Yeah.
That's probably an Infernity thing for Stygian. Street Patrol, lock that down. Also works against Mermails if you happen to come up against them, but you don't really know, how much Mermails were in the mind of Ivan Alvarez.
I'm guessing you don't really want to play it that much yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, Madolche, a lot of them activate in the graveyard.
Yep. Whenever they are destroyed and sent to the graveyard. But on the other hand, sometimes that can be useful for you. If you need Hoot Cake fuel to actually land there,
True.
and not get sent back to the deck, your own Soul Drain could help you out that way. And that's not something you usually see from those trap cards that you play just to make it so that your opponent can't play.
Yeah.
Cut your own deck, and then your opponent cuts once more.
Sorry.
Looks like we're just about ready to get underway with our second duel.
I stopped.
And it sounds like Edison Pan wants to begin. And he's got that Dimensional Fissure.
Gearama.
Mind Control could be useful here. You could take something that was summoned by Angeli and just hide it beneath one of your Xyz monsters.
His own Mind Crush.
Mind Crush, clearly in response to all the Madolche ticket nonsense from the last duel.
Also has Fiendish Chain as well.
Torrential and Fiendish Chain.
Interesting.
Fiendish Chain over on Ivan's side.
Well, he's got the Angeli, so he's going to be getting
Yep.
pretty much anything.
Ivan has a pretty excellent hand, or he would if Dimensional Fissure wasn't on the other side of the table. Instead, 3 face-down cards. And the Madolche Chateau,
And Hoot Cake.
along with Hoot Cake, who is up to 2,000 without access to a lot of his effects. He's just going to go straight for the beatdown. But Fiendish Chain puts a stop to that really fast.
But now there's a 2,000 attack wall, which when you're playing against hands, isn't necessarily the best.
Geary Armor, flipped face up. Met again with Fiendish Chain. Both monsters on the field affected by Fiendish Chain, and Edison Pan sets his Mind Crush and is done for the turn.
And the second Hoot Cake. Also on 2,000.
Double Hoot Cake. 2,000 attackers is nothing to sneeze at.
And there's a poke.
Hoot Cake attacks Geary Armor. Geary Armor is destroyed.
Clever move, because you don't want it to be used as the next summon, so you can't get rid of that Fiendish Chain. Although the Fiendish Chain should be now in the graveyard.
Yes, the monster was destroyed, and when the monster is destroyed, so is Chain. Okay, look that up.
No?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Up, and they've seen it. Fiendish Chain stayed there quite a while last time around, but we got it now.
And there's a wind-up Zen mains. Whenever I have a rank 3 slot in an extra deck, wind-up Zen mains.
Zen Mines?
It's got a large defense
Is
and
that before or after you put in Alucard?
Alucard, Leviair.
Over here.
Yeah.
Vladimir seems more specialized a lot of the time. Like, it's really great in this deck. Less great in Geargia. It's not exactly the rank 3 you want to make there.
I just kind of assume that things like this will happen.
Pair of Geargi accelerators is taken out by Torrential Tribute. And with them, one material is detached from Zenmains, and in the end phase, the Dimensional Fissure is finally destroyed by the effect of Wind-Up Zenmines. And now Alvarez is free to play as Angeli and get her to the graveyard for Medolce Hootcake. Hootcake is next. Angeli's banished. Messenger Lotto special summoned. And with that, he's going to get that ticket again.
Yep.
Edison Pan is waiting for it, though.
And Mind
says,
Crushes.
Not this time. Medolce ticket is hit by Mind Crush and sent to the graveyard. And he gets a quick peek to see that there are no more in Alvarez's hand. In fact, there are no more in Alvarez's deck. He only runs one Medolce ticket. 2 Chateau, 1 ticket seems pretty standard for this deck. Now, sometimes you kind of wish you had the second ticket if your opponent is main decking all those Mystical Space Typhoons.
And there's a poke, 2,000. And another poke.
2,000 and 2,100 is 4,100.
Wow.
So despite stopping Medolce ticket short, Edison Pan is short on cards and getting short on life points.
I will just take a second to mention, look at the artwork for the Medolce cards.
It's pretty
They are just-
fantastic. I think I have a better tie than Hootcake.
Yeah, I would say so. He has a different type of tie, though.
Yeah, old-timey
Like a
bow
ruffle.
tie kind of deal.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Although that mailbox looks like it wouldn't hold much.
We see the Mystical Space Typhoon from Edison Pan.
And
He's run out of monsters, though.
which is unfortunate, because I do believe that that is endgame. Oh wait, no, there is a Phoenix Chain on the field. Oh wait, no, that's face-up Phoenix Chain, of course. That's it.
It was
Yeah.
used for the Sea Summon. And that'll do it. Ivan Alvarez takes 2 swift games against
Yeah.
Geargia in a matchup that often goes in Geargia's favor if they can get the trap cards.
Of course.
In this case, though, there was kind of a dearth of pink cards over on Edison Pan's side of the field, and you really felt the effect of that in the first duel when Ivan Alvarez was able to just do whatever he wanted and had the Dolce ticket, and there was just nothing Edison Pan could really do.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, it's always interesting to watch a Medolce player play. Because there's all of the combos that they need to do, and there's so much search.
Yeah.
So you really need to know what you're going to be getting next.
It's definitely, like, you have to practice beforehand. You learn the order in which you need to search things out. Like, okay, I get ticket first so I can continue my combos. After that, I get Chateau to recycle all my cards so I can continue my combos the next time around. And then you try to sneak in an Xyz Summon or 2 when you get the chance.
Yeah.
One thing that a lot of people don't realize about Medolces is that with Medolce Chateau on the field, you don't actually need to go into your extra deck at all. You can have your 2,000 attack Hootcake, your 1,900 attack Magellin, your 2,100 attack Messenger Lotto, and just start swinging.
Those cakes become massive.
Yep, and if they can't get rid of the field spell or ticket, you could have all the Geargi armors in the world, and Edison Pan did, but eventually they're going to fall to an army of well-dressed owls, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Well-dressed owls and cakey mailmen.
Yep.
Definitely, definitely. There was just wasn't much hand action
Yeah, we didn't
on
see a whole lot of it.
Edison's side of the field, but
He had the one, but it
Ivan.
was destroyed too high in the chain, I believe. I think that's what happened to it.
It was used as an exit for Exy
Oh,
material.
is that what happened to it?
Yeah. I mean, we saw Ivan kind of think about using it as an exit
Yeah.
material and then think against it, and it worked out in his favor in the end.
because he ran straight into it with the Cane Gorgon,
Yeah,
which is kind of unexpected.
Yeah, it was a. I would say it was a misplay on his part. He maybe didn't quite understand that he wouldn't be able to redirect it, but it was interesting.
Yeah, it's, at that point, you're just trying everything.
Yeah.
Because
You
your
just
deck isn't doing what it's supposed to do, so you just got to put something out there so you can play at all.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out in this case. It's one of the risks when you start putting hands into your deck is that it really starts to up your monster count.
Yeah.
So the successful Gear Gear decks, I think, are probably going to play between 13 and 15 monsters. And Edison Pan is already up to 17.
Yeah.
If he didn't have the hands, he'd be down to 13. And he'd have a lot more room for more trap cards, which is something you need in these combo-heavy matchups. So I don't know if maybe... I mean, he got to 2-0 so far, so it was working out. But this time it didn't.
No.
And that's the risk you run, the more monsters you play.
Yeah. Although Medolce is running 18 monsters.
It's true. And a lot of times with Medolce, it's because you need them.
Yeah.
You don't want to draw them, you want to draw a certain set of them, but the rest need to stay in the deck so that you can use them later. And that's actually kind of a recurring thing. The things in Duelist Alliance as well. So like the Yang Zing deck. You play your 11 or how many Yang Zing monsters you want to play. And you want to get 1 or 2 of them in your starting hand. 1 to absorb the blow of a Bottomless Trap or a Dimensional Prison, and another to actually keep on the field and start cycling through your deck. And it's the same thing with the Shadal cards. You don't really want to draw them so much. You rather fuse from your deck with Shadal Fusion.
Yeah.
So you want to see Hedgehog. Seeing Hedgehog's great because that gets you Shadal Fusion. But then to play the rest of your monsters, you need to draw level 5 Beast. You don't really want to do that. Or you need to get Facing the Shadows so that you can set, or not Facing the Shadows, Sinister Shadow games.
Yeah.
And Armageddon Knight and that sort of thing. It's very... There's a delicate balance that has to be met when you're trying to build a deck like this. And
especially with so much reliance on something in a deck. Well, that's what Medolce does best, because most of the time they won't hit the graveyard.
I mean, at the very worst, when you're playing Medolce, you can just set things, and they'll go back to your deck naturally as they get attacked.
So you have that recursion straight away.
And that's part of what Medolce Palooza is for.
Yes, definitely. Because you go Chateau. Oh, I'll just put it in my graveyard and straight back into my hand, and then just Palooza.
Just pull it all back out all at once.
It's even nicer when it's just summon Torrential Tribute, put them all back in my hand, Medolce Palooza. Ooh, look at all my cake. Cake all over the table.
Eat it too, see someone with it afterwards.
Yeah, definitely.
Works out pretty well that way.
Definitely.
I would look to see... I think we're going to see a lot more success from Girgia, though. That's very not representative of what the deck's about.
No. No.
You know, it really wasn't really representative of what the Medolce deck was about. We didn't see a whole lot of the signature combos because the few trap cards that Edison Pan had were used to block them. But we still got a lot of Angeli searches, a lot of ticket searches, and eventually just the sheer number of cards combined with the sheer number of traps. Just Edison couldn't stem the tide.
It was just lovely to see him playing around it rather than thinking, well, I'm a Medolce player, I must do this.
Yep. He did a great job.
Definitely. Now, we're going to kick it back over to Jessica and the analyst desk by the look of it, just see what they thought of that game.
All right. Thank you again, Jerome and Rob. Very good job. And again, we are going to go over to our analysts, and they are going to discuss the match that you guys just watched as well. So take it away, guys.
So, guys, that was a long round.
That was a grueling game 1.
Yes, like game 1. I actually wasn't even sure that was going to get a game 2.
Yeah.
We don't have a clock here on the stage, so we were like...
For everyone at home, too, these are 60-minute rounds here at the World Championships, much longer than normal. And we were pretty determined at some point that was going to take all 60 minutes.
Yeah. We got a couple of highlights and stuff, but let's just go over the matchup. Were you expecting to see Medolce in the World Championships? Medolce? Was that on your radar?
It was 1 or 2.
Okay. Okay, and yourself?
Yeah, it's my understanding the Americans liked it. I don't think actually any of the Americans ended up playing it, but I'm not surprised that some of them did. Some people did.
It completely went under my radar.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to see Medolce. I was so focused on the Infernity matchups, the Gear Guard stuff. But
I'll tell you what I did expect. I expected game 1 to last all of 5 minutes when we saw Edison Pan's opening hand of triple Gear Armor, 1 Gear Accelerator, and 1 Torrential Tribute.
Yeah, we were pretty sure like, oh, this is going to be fast because the Medolce's going to do its thing, and that's going to be that. But it just I think that 1900 defense on Gear Armor. It was
that combined with like the mystery sets of the Fire Hand and Ice Hand, and both duelists running Fire Hand and Ice Hand creates these situations where, like Jerome was mentioning, you can have these defensive standoffs.
Yeah.
and these small exchanges where things get locked down. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Shall we go to our first highlight for this
Yeah.
match?
Let's get to the first highlight.
Yeah. Let's take a look.
That Fossil Diner play was very interesting.
Oh yeah, the main deck Fossil Diner, that caught me off guard looking at it. He's got a lot of Edison's got a lot of defensive traps to back up that Fossil Diner. But he took out a bunch of monsters with it, and it actually prolonged that duel to stop Ivan actually just going combo.
Yeah. We were talking about the Falsana Pachycephalo in particular earlier on before the match started, and we were expecting it to, if it appeared, be like a big part of the match because it's so difficult for Alvarez to make any of his major plays while that card's on the field, but at the same time, he has a lot of monsters that can attack over. Like how many? Is it 9 or 12?
From here we got 5. No, hold on. Yep, 5. He's got a bunch. I think it's about 5 or 8 monsters that he can actually swing
It's
over.
at least 8 monsters that can attack over it.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, Pan has a huge trap lineup, and then to counter that, Alvarez has a pair of traps done. So we were waiting for fascinating things to happen with those cards, and ironically, that was the one exceedingly quick part of the match.
Yeah, the thing that we thought was going to be the main focal point of who was going to come out on top of that match was whether or not Pan could keep that Fossil Diner around long enough for him to accumulate enough cards to blow out Ivan. And
the answer was no.
The answer
He
is
could
no.
not.
It's that just disappeared so quickly, and then we got into the defensive trenches, and
So it's interesting to see it pop up that early, but did not perform the way we're sure Pan would have liked it to, due to his lack of trap cards in that opening.
Yeah, just opening the Trental Tribute and 3 Gearga armors.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I want to see at least one of these, not 3 of them.
Why don't you throw to the second clip and I'll find out the math on like the odds of that happening.
Yeah, sure. Let's take a look at the second highlight right here and see what we got here. Okay, so yeah, this is the clutch Trental Tribute to just keep delaying Ivan as long as possible from his running a super combo.
And with the ticket just continuously gave Ivan the resources that he needed.
Yeah, that was such an uphill battle for Pan, and the fact that he dragged it out so long just shows how prepared he was for what we'd consider a very poor opening hand. He's actually playtested this so much that he gets a poor hand and says, how do I make the most of this? How do I get the game to a state where I can fight the opponent on a level playing field? And he went the distance.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't get to a game 3, but he got that game 1 all the way to the end, and
admirable effort just carrying the game that long. Like that was shocking. He just kept going turn after turn.
Well,
he busted out a Abyss Dweller, Cairn Gorgon, the Anti-Luminescent. Pulled out all the stops just to stay in that game.
It's important to not just concede immediately or even just give up while you're playing. When you look at your hand and go, okay, this is a bad opening hand. If providing your opponent, you don't have a bad opening hand, your opponent opens Infernities and goes, oh, okay,
yeah,
that's it. Staying in there because your opponent can always give you the opportunity to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen here. We went like 40-something minutes in game 1.
Yeah,
I think it was. But a very valiant effort from Pan.
And Alvarez was the opening player for game 1, right? He went first?
Yes.
So Pan saw 6 cards with his opening hand. So it was a 0.2% chance of hitting the triple Geargarmer opening.
Wow.
Oh, but he did see it in his first 5 before he drew his 6th card. So it's a 0.1% chance.
Wow.
Yeah. It's the opposite of a Christmas miracle.
The opposite of a Christmas miracle. It's like the Grinch stole Christmas.
Yeah, the Grinch stole Edison Pan's Christmas.
Stole all of his trap
what
cards.
happened.
I think the Christmas present can be referred to the third highlight.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's take a look at that.
The field card.
Oh, this was so good.
So go ahead, Jason, please.
Oh, no. Oh, this is the game 1 torrential.
Yeah,
No, okay. What was this again?
We'll get to the game 2 torrential.
Yeah, look at the game 2 torrential. Let's watch the highlight.
Sorry, it was so long ago. I actually need to watch that. Okay. A lot of back and forth for that, but we've talked a lot about that game 1. Let's move into game 2.
game two was a lot faster and seemed to be favorable to both
Actually,
players.
before we jump there, can we go to highlight 6 from game 1? Because this was really cool. This was like the spine-crushing move from Alvarez.
Okay, yeah, that's. Can we roll highlight 6, please?
This was unbelievable. So Alvarez only main decks 1 copy of Effect Veiler.
Yeah, and it's so clutch right
And
here.
Pan goes for the one equalizer he could have, just so outcarded at this point, so down on card economy, goes for Evil Swarm Exciton Knight, has it, the summon successful, activates its effect, detaches, and the Effect Veiler hits. And that was really the beginning of the end in that match.
Yeah, it was all downhill from there. I do know that we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
Do we? Let's just see.
I really want to touch on the first highlight,
The opening for game 2.
of,
Yeah,
which
for
would be
sure.
highlight 7.
Yeah, let's take a look at highlight 7 real quick. So this is the opening play for
Yes.
Pan.
When Edison opened up with the D fissure, I really thought that the game was sealed.
He's already put Ivan in this really clunky position to have to deal with all of these problems. This very problematic card that knocks him out of all of his plays.
Yep.
And it got worse for him in that match because he had this almost perfect setup that he ran into a Torrential Tribute with a wind-up Zen-Winds.
Yeah. Alvarez had the perfect counter. He has wind-up Zen mains with 2 materials on the field. Flips Torrential Tribute when his opponent makes a second summon. Destroys 2 opposing Gear accelerators. Loses nothing of his own, but triggers the Zen main's effect to pop that Dimensional Fissure. We're totally running low on time, so we should hop forward, but that was a cool move.
And pretty much led to victory.
Yeah,
there.
it was all downhill from there.
Okay, I think that's just about everything for that match. No, just a minute. Okay.